fight from within. You're about to go behind enemy lines.
Roger, 3-2. Goliath copies all. Go ahead. Target is surrounded by multiple firms entering what appears to be a residential area. Requesting permission to engage.
From the People's Republic of New York City, you're now going behind enemy lines with Gene Baradelli and Russ Gallo.
And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here with you. So glad you can be with us, whether you're joining us at www.behindenemylinesradio.us or if you're checking us out on AM radio, FM radio, the internet radio. We're glad that you're tuned in, locked and loaded with us. Or if we're traveling along with you as a podcast, we're happy to be along for the ride. Got a great show for you this week. We're going to fly solo, or not really actually, because we're going to have on the debut of BEL Contributor Nat Paul. Great young kid with a great story to tell. Going to talk a little bit of wonky stuff, talking about the Electoral College and reform, and a great series of articles that he did for the radio show, website, I should say, and then he brings it onto the radio show. That's really cool. But before we get to the wonk, and before we get to all the fun stuff, of course we want to say Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Hope your holiday is full of family, food, and fun. And there aren't too many arguments at the dinner table over either politics or religion or anything else. Hope it's just mostly bad uncle jokes and things like that. And allow us to be your political talk for the week so that you don't have to do it at the dinner table. Put the knives down. Don't attack your crazy uncle or, your mom or your sister or your cousin about politics just because they think differently than you. Let's do all the political talk here. And what we're going to talk about, quite a few different things. Like I said, we're going to talk about the wonk later on, about the Electoral College and things like that with, voting and stuff. But right now, let's get to something juicy. I'm in the mood for the juicy bits of politics, the palace intrigue, the salacious stuff. And in this case, we're going to talk about, shockingly, the Democrats, who are sending a whole new crop to Capitol Hill next year. And already the cracks are starting to form. And what we're seeing is a bit of a revolt against presumed next speaker, Nancy Pelosi. I say presumed only because it may not be etched in stone, folks. A letter was sent, signed by, I believe it's 16 members of the Democratic Congressional Delegation, all stating that they can't support Nancy Pelosi as the speaker and that they're going to be voting for someone else because voters voted for change in this election. They didn't vote for the old Democrat machine, the old white Democrat machine, and you'll see why I'm bringing race into it in a second, folks. They think that Nancy Pelosi should be pushed out. She's had her time. Her time is up. Someone else's time is now. And you're seeing that from many on the left. Interestingly enough, not from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, because she feels that the makeup of the people who signed this letter, again, are old and white and who are not representative of the diversity of the Democratic Party, and they feel like they're just taking advantage. So she hasn't joined in this. Oh, no. She'll be mistaken for an intern, and she'll have her outfits talked about. But when it comes to taking a stand against Nancy Pelosi, she's not going to take a stand with these people because they're white and they're old. Not me bringing race into it, folks. It's the Democrats bringing race into it, as they always seem to do whenever there is dissension in the ranks. Now, what are the chances of Nancy Pelosi not being the next speaker? I gotta think it's slim to none. And the reason why is the almighty dollar, folks. Say what you want about Nancy Pelosi. She's bots. She's crazy. She's a freaky Lou wackadoo on the left or whatever. She's out of touch with reality. But one thing she is not out of touch with, and you have to give her credit for this, begrudgingly if you're a conservative, she has the money. She is able to raise money. She is able to generate revenue for Democrats and their campaigns. So if you are turning your back on Nancy Pelosi, you're turning your back on a whole heap of money, a whole pile of it. So that's why I think a lot of people, including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, are not ready to throw Nancy out with the bathwater. It's not going to happen, folks, because the buck still runs politics. The money still runs politics. The cheddar still runs politics, no matter what side of the aisle you are on. But what will happen in this battle, in my opinion, is the politics of divisiveness will continue. You're still going to see people segmenting out groups, especially leadership and Democrats. You're going to see them segmenting out groups. Women, ethnicity, sexual orientation. Those are just the start. We're already seeing the cracks of what I guess would be a coalition of quote-unquote diversity breaking down, because now even the divisions have divisions. The latest sign of that for me is what's happening with organizers of the Women's March. Full disclosure, I have a regular friendly dialogue with Linda Sarsour. I know that people don't like that. A lot of my friends don't like that. We keep it light and breezy and talk about, Brooklyn and family and things like that. I have no problem with talking to somebody on the other side. You don't demonize your adversary. You engage your adversary and you show them for what they think and what they believe. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes it's bad. In this particular case, what we're seeing with the Women's March is that they're getting all shook up by news coming from one of their own. What happened was an organizer of the Women's March, a woman by the name of Teresa Shook, who is now her role is being downplayed by organizers of the Women's March. This woman is coming out and calling for Women's March leaders to resign. Wants those activists out. Linda Sarsour, Tamika Mallory, and others. And why is that? Well, for the same reason that Alyssa Milano has decided that she's not going to speak at the next Women's March because of alleged anti-Semitic and anti-gay statements made by Mallory, Sarsour, and others. Now, I am far from the person who's going to call anyone a bigot, anti-Semite, or anything like that. I don't know these people. I can see their actions outwardly, but I don't know what's in their heart. And, at the end of the day, that's all that matters when you're talking about whether or not someone is a bigot or not. Donald Trump gets called a bigot all the time. And no one knows what's in his heart. No one knows how he is. This is, a tactic of the left. I refuse to engage in that. Teresa Shook, who presumably, again, someone I don't know. I don't even really know Linda Sarsour. And I don't really think that anyone can say that they know her, at least on the right anyway, that they know what's in her heart. They can only know by what her statements are and what the indications are. But Teresa Shook seems to believe that the founders of the Women's March, or I guess her co-founders, they are acting and supporting anti-Semitism and anti-gay rhetoric because they support the minister, and I use that term lightly, Louis Farrakhan. Now, there's someone who we know what's in his heart. We know that he is racist and bigoted. We know what we're dealing with when we're talking about him. But the reason why they're saying that Sarzor and Mallory and all these people should be resigning is because they have not denounced statements by Mr. Farrakhan. I'm not going to use the word minister because I don't believe that he's a minister. He's a hate monger, in my opinion. And because they did not outwardly reject those anti-Semitic statements, and because they did not reject those anti-LBGTQ, LMNOP, whatever it is these days, statements, that therefore you are no longer fit to lead this movement. Now, predictably, of course, this has caused a firestorm by the Women's March leadership. Statements have been sent out left and right about how dare this person say anything about this, about this situation, because guess what? She's not a person of color. How dare she say she didn't have anything to do with this? She is not an organizer of the women's, but she started a Facebook group, according to statements that I've seen on the internet. And I'm not going to attribute them because they're from private Facebook pages and whatnot. They're saying that they don't need to apologize for their statements. At least there's no outward apology. They're saying, of course we're not anti-Semitic. Of course we're not anti-gay. I am not these things. But they're saying that without rejecting Minister Farrakhan for one reason or another. So this is causing a split. And one of the statements that I saw from Linda Sarsour was saying that Teresa Shook is a white woman masquerading. Let me get the quote exactly right so I don't misquote people here. There was a statement made that, here it is right here on FoxNews.com. Folks who masquerade as progressives but always choose their allegiance to Israel. That's one statement that's being referred to as an anti-Semitic statement, basically saying that Jewish people are two-faced. But there's a statement made in response to Shook, which I'm going to be looking for right now, where she actually is, deriding the fact that this Teresa Shook, didn't do anything for the Women's March, and that basically she was not a real organizer of it, and that and also makes allusions to her ethnicity, the fact that Teresa Shook is white, and that therefore she needs to take several seats. Again, I don't think that this has to do with anything when it comes to who's in charge of what with a march about empowering women. I don't see how race comes into it. If you're empowering women, it should be empowering women of every race, every culture, every religion, every background, every political opinion. Everyone needs to be empowered, and they need to have their voices heard. I don't see why some women are more equal than other women. I think that's kind of the point I'm trying to get to here. Maybe I'm wrong here. I don't think that there is an inherent weight that should be given to someone's opinion just because of who they are. It should be because of what they know. It should be because they have an opinion on something, and if they can back it up with factual assertions or empirical evidence or even anecdotal evidence should be listened to. I don't get this whole idea that just because I'm an Italian male from Brooklyn, New York, that my opinion on certain issues are less valid than some other person of a different background, different gender, different race, different ethnicity, different religion, different social strata, different economic strata. We all have opinions. We all have a voice here. And the voices should be equally respected, not one valued over another. And again, this is something that I think Democrats will be exploring as they have